friends, it's Alex, and today I'm here with my very first book haul of 2020. I have 11 books to talk about today, most of which I acquired in 2020, although one of them was a Christmas gift. I got one book for Christmas, so we'll start with that, and it is the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire illustrated edition, which my boyfriend gave me. He gave me the first three for my birthday, and it's gorgeous. Look at that. The illustrations are just so pretty in this book. I'm listening to all the audiobooks now, and that's going to be my reread this time as I'm going through them. But the next time I reread these books, I'm definitely going to go through all the beautiful illustrated editions because they make me so happy and they seem like such a fun way to re-experience the books. Like, look at this cover. It just goes all the way around on the back, and I really love the illustrations. The other 10 books are all books I have not read yet or before. Obviously, I've read Harry Potter, so that didn't really contribute to my TBR or my unread bookshelf. But because I've bought so many or acquired so many, I didn't buy all of these. I'm now sitting at close to 500. I think I have 498 books on my unread shelf, which is not great. But I acquired new fun things, so let's talk about them. The first are two books that I bought myself. The bookstore where I work, I get a pretty decent employee discount, and my parents gave me a gift card for Christmas to purchase books with. So I did get two books with that gift card. The first is Long Bright River by Liz Moore. This is an adult, I think contemporary or potentially historical fiction novel about the opioid epidemic in Pennsylvania, I believe. Liz Moore wrote The Unseen World, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I really adore it. I think that book is so gorgeous and so wonderful in like every way. And when I heard this book was coming out, it's like, regardless of what the subject was, I really wanted to read it. And I kind of purchased this like the day after it came out because I was like, what do I use this gift card on? What is deserving of this gift card? And I decided this book was. And it's so pretty. It's so lovely. I don't get to buy many new hardcovers, especially like so soon after they're released. So it was very exciting for me to pick this book up. Haven't read it yet. Haven't read any of these books yet. But I am very excited to get to it because I do really hope that this book will be wonderful. And I think it will be crushingly disappointing if it's not an absolute 5-star, one of my favorite books of 2020. The second book I bought with the gift card because I did have a little bit left over, not enough to really like buy something nice. I got The Other Daughter by Lisa Gardner. I read a lot of Lisa Gardner books. They're cop thrillers. She's written many. She started writing a book a year in like the 90s or something and has kept it up ever since. I've read most of her books, but the library I belong to doesn't actually own all of them, especially some of the earlier ones. So I do kind of buy those when I see them. Not usually new, but because I had the gift card and because I was like, I saw this book, I wanted to have it, I want to read it, so I did acquire it. I don't know that I'll be holding on to this after I read it. It's going to be one of those like quick, fun thriller reads. I hope I like it at least. But I don't expect to really adore this book. I just bought it because I really can't access it any other way unless I own it. So I am quite interested because I haven't read too many of her older books because the library is missing like the first third of what she's published. So very interested to see if I enjoy this, and also just I like to read Lisa Gardner, so I try to read her whenever possible. The last book that I bought new from the store where I work, did not use the gift card for this one. I just bought it because I was having a bad day and wanted to buy a book. But I got Caliban's War by James S. A. Corey, which is the second book in the Expanse series. I was planning to read this from the library. I had it checked out from the library, and then it was due, so I had to return it without reading it. So I bought my own copy, because that's what you do. This is probably the only book on here that, regret is a strong word, but I'm not entirely sure I needed to buy this one. I could have just got it from the library in another month or two. I could have put myself on the holds list for it again, but I didn't. I did really enjoy Leviathan Wakes. I thought it was a good book. I thought it was very solid. It made my honorable mentions for 2019, and I was excited to continue the series. It's a space opera sci-fi series, very fun. There's a TV show that I watch and really enjoy as well. But the further I get from Leviathan Wakes, the better it seems to me. Like, a lot of times I'll read a book and I'll enjoy it, and then like 3 months later I'm like, yeah, that was a fine book. Like, with some distance, it's not as fun as it was like in the moment. But with Leviathan Wakes, the further I get, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that was really good. That was really solid. I'm stoked to continue this series. And I haven't because I haven't had time and I want to like actually be able to get into the rest of the series. But I do plan on reading this probably sometime soon this year whenever I finish the Three Dark Crown series, so I'm not in the middle of like two rather thick series at once because this is a thick one. But I don't know, I was having a bad day and this book made my bad day a little bit better. And I don't really plan to buy all of these books new, but maybe some point in the far future I'll be able to own this whole series because I do think it's going to be one of those series that I would like to collect. And starting with the second one, not ideal, but maybe I can find the first one at like a thrift store or something because it is kind of popular. My only used book that I bought, this is the final book that I bought for this haul. The rest of these books I acquired for free. But the final book I bought, I got from Goodwill. I went there looking because I was like, I want this book haul to have 10 books. And I just, because having 9 would have bothered me, I was like, 10 books makes for a solid book haul. But I'd forgotten the Harry Potter book also counted for this, so it made 11. But I don't regret anything. I don't. I got All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. This I don't know super much about. I do know it's an adult contemporary about a young girl in a very terrible home situation. Bobby from Bobby Reads Too Much really enjoys this book. She raves about it all the time, and it's very, very dark, very gritty. I don't know. I don't know super much about this book, but she does talk about it quite a bit, and the way she talks about it made me interested in it, and she said it definitely wasn't for everyone, but it was one of those books I was kind of down to try. So when I saw it at Goodwill, I was like, yes, sign me up. So I am excited to like own this book and potentially get to it. Potentially get to it. Potentially get to it soon. Maybe get to it in 5 years when I've read other things on my shelf first. But this is one that looks very interesting. I haven't heard much about it apart from Bobby, although I do know it's gotten some hype and also some like very negative opinions on it because apparently the romantic relationship is not a very healthy one. But I'm interested to see how it's portrayed because I really do like reading about relationships that aren't like the best, the healthiest, whatever, when they're done well. And I think it might be done well in this book. And it sounds fascinating. 6 books left, and all 6 of those books are ARCs. I work in a bookstore. Well, I got 5 of these from the bookstore where I work. So let's start with the one I didn't. I won an ARC on Goodreads, which was very exciting. I forgot that that was a thing that happened because while I enter giveaways fairly regularly, I enter giveaways every time Goodreads notifies me that a book on my shelf has a new giveaway open. I haven't won one in years, so I was very, very excited, especially because the book I won was Devil Darling Spy by Matt Killeen, which is the sequel to Orphan Monster Spy, which I read last year and was, again, on my honorable mention list for last year. I was super excited to have won this book. I'm so excited to get to it because I really wanted that book to have a sequel. Like, before I even realized that there was going to be a sequel, when I thought it was a standalone, I felt like it deserved the sequel. And this is a historical fiction, young adult, spy, mystery, thriller, novel thing. It's kind of action-y, but also, like, I feel like slow-paced for an action book, so I really enjoyed it. And it's World War II, and the first one was set in Germany about a young Jewish girl, and now it's about the same young Jewish girl, but it's set in Africa, and it's about Africa during World War II, which is very interesting, and I'm very curious to see what it's like. I really wanted to read this as soon as I got it in the mail, because I got it in the mail like a week and a half ago, and I haven't had time to pick it up yet because I've had so much on my plate this month, but oh, I am so stoked to get to this one, like, soon, like, really, really soon. I want to make this the priority because I loved Orphan Monster Spy, and I'm hoping that this will be just as good. I should say also that while this is an ARC, it already came out in January in the US. I think in the UK it comes out in March, but it is already released, so you can get yourself a copy of this. This was not like an ARC that I got pre-release. It just happens to be an ARC edition of this book. And the final 5 books, while all ARCs as well, I got from work. I work in a bookstore, and we get sent arcs on a fairly regular basis, so we just have like a shelf in our break room that's just like full of arcs that we can take whenever we want. And I started doing this thing where whenever they send me home early from a shift and I lose out on hours, I just take an arc to make myself feel better. And it's happened quite a few times, so I took quite a few arcs. And now I've stopped doing that. I'm trying to have some self-control because I can't just like take any arc I want whenever I want and just add to my never-ending TBR. That's not fun, especially since these are all like coming soon and I feel obligated to read them before they're released or around the time they're released. So these are all like new release 2020 books, which not normal for me, but might become normal now that I have decent access to them. The first book that has already come out is All the Ways We Said Goodbye by Beatriz Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White. This is a historical fiction novel. I will say, when I picked it up, I didn't realize it was written by 3 authors. Like, I was just kind of looking at it. It sounded interesting. I think it has to do with, like, a little bit World War II and a lot, like, the 50s and the 60s and, like, post-World War II time. A little bit of the Cold War, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure, but it sounded interesting, and we have a table of these books at my work that I see and walk past every day, and it looked really interesting. So when I saw we had an arc of it, I was like, yes, please give me. This came out in January, so it is available. I really don't know anything about it. It was just like there and cool looking. The dark days of 2 world wars to the turbulent years of the 1960s. Okay, so it starts early. It might start for World War I and then go to the 60s, but I knew it was about the 60s, and that was kind of interesting to me. But this does sound interesting. The fact that it's 3 authors does turn me off just a little bit, because 2 authors I can handle just fine. Like Caliban's War is written by 2 authors, or the Expanse series. James S.A. Corey is a pseudonym for 2 authors. But 3 sounds like a lot to me. So that's give me a little bit of hesitation, but it does sound interesting, and historical fiction is one of those genres where it all sounds interesting to me. We have a historical fiction table at my work, and like I would take literally 85 to 90% of the books off that table if I could. Just like take them and read them because they all sound interesting. And I don't read as much historical fiction as I feel like I should for how much I like the genre, so it is cool that I now have this to try. Then I got The Lucky One by Rader-Day. This actually comes out today, as I'm filming this. Maybe tomorrow as I'm posting it. We'll see. And there is a bookmark in this because I'm currently reading it. I am not quite halfway, but making progress. This is a thriller about a woman who was kidnapped when she was a child, and then as an adult she sees a picture of the man who kidnapped her, and that kind of spurs her on a quest to figure out what happened during the kidnapping, and I assume uncover old secrets because that's the plot of every thriller. Basically, that's pretty much the story. I'm actually finding it boring and I'm not a huge fan of it, which I don't know. I'm not quite halfway. Maybe it gets very exciting. We'll see. But it did sound super interesting, just like revisiting a kidnapping. But she was kidnapped when she was 3 years old and doesn't really remember it much at all, which kind of wasn't what was implied on the back cover of this book, but whatever. This isn't a review for the book. This is a book haul. But I don't hate it. It's just kind of one of those books that's a little mediocre and a little forgettable, honestly. But we'll see. Maybe it has a really good ending that'll push it up into something worthwhile. And it does come out today, so it's available. And then we have the most exciting arc of all of these arcs that I was absolutely thrilled to find a copy of, and that is The Splendid and the Vile by Erik Larson. This is his new release that comes out on February 25th about Winston Churchill and the Blitz. I am so excited. I almost screamed when I saw a copy of this on our shelf. I was like, ooh, I'm taking that. That's mine. This is mine. I really like Erik Larson. He's a nonfiction author. I've read a couple of his books so far, and they're all really good, really worthwhile. He's a great researcher, great writer. Highly recommend. This, I kind of wasn't like, not that I wasn't excited for it, but I just like don't get super excited for new releases usually, just because it takes me a minute to get them from the library usually, and I just don't super pay attention to what's coming out because it's still going to be out and available in 5 years. But just getting this book like before it's released, because before this haul I'd never gotten an arc before a book was released before. I'd gotten a couple of arcs before, but like much like Devil Darling Spy, I'd gotten them after they were released and it was just an ARC edition. But like this was the first book I ever got before it was released, and even just a couple of weeks. And for an author that I really love, who's one of my favorite nonfiction authors, it's just like so exciting. And I don't know, I really do like World War II, so I'm hoping I love this book, and it's very, very exciting. I'm so down, and I really want to read this and like get a review up for it like the day it comes out, because that would be exciting and fun for me. The Light in Hidden Places by Sharon Cameron. This comes out on March 3rd. This is a young adult historical fiction novel about World War II, based on or inspired by true events, I forget which, but it's about a teenage girl in Poland, I believe. Poland. And she's not Jewish, but she is in love with a Jewish boy who is the son of a Jewish family she works for. And then, World War II happens, the Holocaust happens, and they go away. And she winds up starting to hide Jewish people in her house during the war, and I think hides a couple dozen people or something that way. I don't know. It sounded potentially interesting, and because it was free and coming out soon, I figured it'd be a quick read, and I do like young adult historical fiction, especially about World War II. So hopefully it's really good. I've not heard anything about it. I just sort of saw it on the shelf and was like, I'm leaving early today. I need something to make me happy. And it did. And now I need to read it very soon. The final book that I acquired so far in 2020 is The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. This comes out March 10th. I don't know what this is about. I think it's a historical fiction novel set in India. Potentially. It says the city, but not the country. I think India, and it's about a young girl who was in an arranged marriage in the 50s, and then she runs away, and then potentially gets caught by the man she was married to, or supposed to be married to, who is significantly older, and it sounds dark, it sounds interesting. I picked it up again because it looked vaguely interesting. I read the first couple of sentences of the premise and then was like, sure, I'm leaving early. I want to be made happy. So it sounds interesting. What little I know about it. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully all of these are good, because apart from like Erik Larson of the arcs I got from work, I never heard of any of them. So we'll see if they're any good. Let me know if you've heard of any of these, apart from, obviously, the Harry Potter one. I like to go into books blind, which makes for a less interesting book haul, but still, I don't know. I'm very excited for all of these, and honestly, a lot of them I feel like I'm going to be reading fairly soon, just because they are either arcs that come out soon, or they're books that I am particularly excited about, like Caliban's War, or Devil Darling Spy, which I'm still, like, screaming on the inside that I want a copy of Devil Darling Spy, because I still have not acquired a copy of Orphan Monster Spy. I read it from the library and don't own my own, so now I own a couple of sequels when I don't own the first book yet, which is interesting. Fun times in the life of me. Let me know down below if you've heard of any of these, if you've read any of these, if you're excited for any of these arcs, because I really don't super pay attention to many arcs. I don't really know a lot about them, so I just sort of pick them up at random, the way I pick everything up at random. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.